Would you just start? Welcome to episode 2 of the Australian Lawn and Garden podcast. In today's episode, we have Travis Savage from the Lawn Lab. He's a guy who's grown up and lives in Bundaberg, 4 hours north of Brisbane in Queensland. And even though he's from such a small town, he's having a huge impact online and his work is top shelf. We're going to look into some of the things that help him get amazing results in his lawns and look behind the scenes in some of his business stuff. It's a great podcast. He's a great guy. Let's get started. All right, Travis from the Lawn Lab. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
It was a bit of a technical glitch getting you in the camera and then the microphone, and you can tell that we're lawn guys. We're not. We're definitely not camera guys.
What did we do? We burnt about an hour just trying to set things up.
Yeah, this is we had 3 hours organised. No. But we took 2.5 up just to get us on the camera. No. But you're up in Bundaberg, right? So we've got our ginger beers ready. We're ready to fire. I mean, is that a lot of what actually happens up there? You guys make that stuff up there, right?
Yeah, we do. Actually, there's a new factory getting built at the moment just to make ginger beer. That's it.
Do you know that? How much do you guys make?
Much? Sorry, what's that? Yeah.
How much do you make? How much
liters? I don't even drink ginger beer. So I drink the Burgundy, so the red one.
do you get excommunicated from the area? Not is it like illegal to not drink?
Well,
ginger beer in Bundaberg?
I don't really drink rum either, and Bundy rum's from me, obviously. I don't really drink rum. I think I drank too much growing up. That's why I don't drink it anymore.
Right, I can totally understand that.
Yeah, so
that's how you've matured.
Yes. Scotch now.
The Scotch. Yes. Well, I was going to say you're a mature businessman. You're a social media influencer as well, whether or not you like it or not.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. You've got, as a small business operator in what's fairly a small town.
Correct.
You have 40,000 followers on Instagram. Yes. Did you ever expect that?
Never. It's for me. Well, I think when we started the business, social media was a big component for me, and I wanted to post regular content and help people. But I think what it's blown up to, I never expected ever. So,
what were there certain moments, like turning points? I mean, this is obviously we're getting into lawn stuff soon, but like I think a lot of people, if they have heard of you, they've probably heard of you from Instagram. I'd be guessing. Would that be fair?
Yes. Yeah, correct, mate. Yeah.
And what was the moment like? I mean, was it just a certain video went viral? Because I know there's one of them on here, which I'll talk about in a second, which went insane. Yeah. But was it like a few of these moments where things just went randomly viral? You got no idea about it. I mean, you clearly do really good work. We're gonna have a look at your lawn in a minute. Yeah. But how did it happen?
So I think I was sitting at around 4,000 followers, and I went away down the coast on a Bucks weekend on the beach. And the night before, I posted a reel.
Yep.
And I went away, had no reception. And I come back and we had 9,500 followers. Wow. So in 3 or 4 days, it doubled from one reel.
And what was the reel?
I think it was at the time we were having a lot of rain on the East Coast.
Yep. And
basically it was 3 videos of me showing what it's like being a lawn care guy on the East Coast at the moment. Right. So 1 minute we're top dressing the lawn, next minute it's flood and rains, and then just a video of me top dressing. Basically just showcasing what's happening at the moment. And for me, it was just a bit of a laugh. It was never meant to be anything other than that. And yeah, just went crazy. And that's sort of like, we post. I think that's when Instagram, the amount of followers you gain, really went crazy with the reels.
Yeah.
When you do a good reel and it gains traction and it just goes viral, you just pick up so many followers from that, and the amount of people that view those reels is crazy. So
well, I'm looking at one now. I'm going to chuck this on the screen. So for those who are watching, you're like on YouTube, you'll be able to see this.
Yeah.
But I'm on the Lawn Lab Instagram page. And if I scroll down here, I'll see a flipping massive number, 1 million likes on a single video.
Yeah.
What the heck? How many views has that got? I can't see on here. Do you know what? I mean, you're probably looking at every night. You go to bed looking at that, thinking,
a
life is
lot of those, honestly, a lot of those older ones I don't. Some of the new ones I sort of keep an eye on what they're doing. But I know there was one that was over 30 million views.
Holy moly!
And I think that was the one I just spoke about then with the rain on the East Coast, yeah, it was over 30 million.
Well, we're scrolling through it now for those who are just listening, and obviously a lot of photos of. I mean, go check it out, Lawn Lab on Instagram. A lot of beautiful little reels, photos of the work that you do, and we're going to talk about how you get these lawns looking so good in a minute.
Yeah.
But the thing that's crazy, we were talking on the phone yesterday in preparation for this. How many people are in Bundaberg, you reckon?
So I actually was completely way off when I told you yesterday.
What did you tell me yesterday?
I told you just under 100.
And how many are there?
50,000.
50?
Yes.
So 1 million is 20 times the size of the city that you've lived there your whole life.
Yes. Yep.
So this is the power of social media. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, you just posted some nice lawn stuff, and then, bam, 1 million people, 20 times the size of the place you even live in, are just, giving you some love.
Yeah. Like I get phone calls from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, overseas about wanting help with lawns. Hey, can you come to this suburb? I'm like, mate, I live in Bundaberg. I don't live in Melbourne. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I recommend people that I know down there, but we get a lot of calls from all over the country about wanting us to do work for people.
Well, do you ever get tempted to go down? Like, is there somebody? I mean, have you ever been contacted by anyone super famous or anything like that? You thought, oh, it might be worth, someone who you could see on their Insta, they had a bit of cash, and you're thinking, oh, I could, get some money out of this, or it's just not even worth it.
Nah, so I've contemplated like heading south from here, which Brisbane's 4 hours away from us. So I have contemplated doing jobs that way. But for me, like, by the time we pay the boys travel and accommodation and stuff like that, the jobs just blow out too much.
Yeah, of course.
So it just doesn't add up. So I mean, I guess if the price was right, I definitely would be happy to travel that sort of distance, where we can still hook the trailers up, a few utes and the boys, and we head down. But not that far. No one famous has contacted me yet, so
not yet. No. So all the Australian billionaires who are listening to this podcast and want to pay for some hotel nights for Travis and his team, hit him up. He'll come.
We'll come to do it.
Yeah, maybe even some like Singaporeans. I don't know. Can you fly the gear over?
We can try. We'll come throw some irrigation in for you or something.
Well, actually, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because one of the things about the reason why I made this podcast is Australia is such a big place, and there unfortunately isn't anywhere near the amount of information regarding lawn and garden care, specifically ornamental care. So you want to make it look beautiful. There's lots of stuff on growing veggies or, things like that. But I wanted to make this podcast because what advice is good in Tasmania is not good in Bundaberg, and it's not good in Perth. I mean, there's some general vibes, some general ideas that will be helpful everywhere. But we were talking before, I think Perth, this is recorded in April 2023. So the last summer we had like 1.5 mil in the entire, like, November through till March, basically. And you're telling me you're getting 35 mil in half an hour sometimes.
Yeah, some afternoon storms, 35, 40 mil, easy. Like,
so how do you go about managing lawns? Like, what sort of, are you getting a lot of fungal diseases? How do you top dress if everything's going to get flooded away? What are the unique challenges that you're seeing in Bundaberg that you're not seeing in other places?
Yeah, it is hard. And like we got pretty high humidity here. So when we get a heavy downpour, the next day, the heat and the humidity, you can literally watch the grass grow. Like, it's insane. So just keeping up with mowing alone is hard enough. So like if we aren't mowing weekly, you have to mow weekly here.
Do you see that a lot with people who their expectation is maybe they've heard, because over in here in Perth, you can mow weekly. You can get away with fortnightly if you're using something that's called plant growth regulator. But it's definitely not the growth rate you're getting. Do you find people who've got advice from other areas and they're thinking, oh yeah, 3 weekly, 2 weekly cuts, I should be fine?
Yeah, well, in recent times with COVID and stuff like that, we've had a lot of people move up from Melbourne and Sydney and stuff like that. Right. And they've obviously contacted me about looking after their property, that sort of thing. And I'll quote up a minimum of 56 mows a year.
Yeah, and right.
They'll be like, oh, so that's weekly, year round, fortnightly in winter. And they were like, no, like 20 will do a year, won't it? And I'm like, it's a different climate. Like, you can't do that. And, you know, I mean, a lot of them don't always, because they're kind of used to doing that back where they've come from, you know, back in Sydney and Melbourne, they won't go ahead with the quote because they just think it's over the top. But you just have to. Like, in the middle of summer, when we're getting plenty of rain, like sort of 30 to 40 mil every week. You know, an average size block here, which is about 400 square meters of lawn, you can get 4 or 5 catches off the front and the same off the back.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's crazy, like the amount of growth we get. So,
well, I mean, you're talking about 40. Were you saying 40 or 50 mil a week?
Yes. Yep.
In summer.
Yep.
That's like more than we get in winter.
Yeah, that's what we've had. Like this year, since I done the renovation on the Queensland Blue Cooch at the front, I swear we've had that more than that every 3 weeks, like a really heavy storm, which with upwards of 100 mil every 3 weeks.
So what's it like working for the lawn lab when it rains? What do? You just have the day off, or?
I did when I first started the business. I was like, how are we going to deal with rain days?
Yeah.
And my 2 full-time guys, they probably had, in the last 2 years they've been working for me, probably realistically only had 3 or 4 rain days. For some reason, because we only do our maintenance on a Wednesday and a Thursday.
Right.
Our mowing work and stuff like that. Yeah. So the rest of the time we're doing our irrigation and turf and that. Right. So sometimes we'll be laying turf in the rain. You just got to deal with it. Now, I like to see a lot of contractors mow in the rain. I don't mow in the rain. If it's raining, we don't mow. I hate mowing in the rain. I hate mowing wet grass.
Yeah, it is.
But what you got to remember too, and here we get a lot of storms in the afternoon. So you'll get a beautiful, humid, hot day, and about 3:30, 3 in the afternoon, storms will roll in. It'll pour rain for a couple of hours. Then you wake up the next morning, it's a bit wet, but things dry out pretty quick, and then you can carry on with your work.
So I guess it's predictable enough that you can still work.
Right? Yeah, it wouldn't be like how you'd say, like, I suppose Melbourne weather is where it can be drizzly all day.
Yeah,
it's not like that here. You get a heavy downpour. I mean, you'll get the odd days where it rains for 2 or 3 days straight and whatnot. But the majority of the time, it's a heavy downpour in the afternoon, a big storm, and things clear up. And then you're good again for a week. So,
yeah, it's fascinating. Like, this is not what it's like here. Like, one of the things we've had, like, when it rains here, I guess your rain's probably a little bit warm in summer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the tropics before when it's raining. It's just different, you know. Like Perth is a lot further south than Bundaberg, clearly. But
yes,
the thing about us working in the rain is it doesn't really rain in summer. We'll get summer storms. We haven't had one of those this last summer, but we usually get really hot, and then we'll get the summer storm, and that might happen twice, and that's where you get most of your rain. And you know, this last time we had no days over 40, but I think we were still the hottest capital city on average because it was just consistently low mid 30s all the time. And it was almost like it was not hot enough to generate that storm. So we just never got any rain. But when it does rain, it's like May, June, July, August. So it's cold. And if you persist and work in the rain, it is harder to get a good finish on your mowing.
Yes.
But you also run the risk of getting sick. So it's often just worth it. Just throw in the towel and just, if it's raining, often we at Silverstone Gardening, we'll just go out, we'll try, you know, and get a feel for it because you never know. If you wake up and it's downpouring and we won't even try, but it can be on and off all day. And if you persist, you just get sick. And so it's just not worth persisting.
It's not worth it.
But it's like it's completely different where you guys are. If it's warm, you just get wet. It's not very nice, but at least you're not going to make yourself get the flu or something for a few.
No,
for a few
like
days.
I said, the thing here though, like you said, had a few days there over 40. Sort of our summer temps are sort of 35, 36.
Yep.
But here it's the humidity. So I don't know what the humidity like is over there, but the humidity here is what kills you. It's not really the heat, it's the humidity. So you can get up to 7:30 and just be wet sweating by 7:30 in the morning.
There's two things we don't get in Perth. One of them is clay. The other is humidity.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we do have some spots where it's clay, but if anyone's been in Perth and they've done any work on the soil in Perth, it's literally just sand. Some spots have clay, usually in the hills or something. But yeah, we don't usually get humidity. And there's often quite where we work is a lot of Perth is right next to the coast, and the heat is actually. I find personally, like you get a day. Your first day that's above 35 is difficult because you're just not used to it coming out of winter.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like, it's not the end of the world. You get the breeze, and especially doing smaller jobs. If you're doing massive jobs every day where you're at the same site for 8 hours, can be tough. But smaller jobs where you get that sit in the car, chuck the aircon on for 5 minutes, drive to the next one, not so bad. Yeah. But yeah, humidity is just it's a different beast. Yeah, does that mean definitely. You fungal diseases? Like, is that a common issue where you are?
We get a lot of dollar spot.
Yep.
But like I said, it's not an overly hard thing to treat. But we do get a fair few, a bit of disease pressure here. But it's not horrendous. Like I don't put a preventative fungicide out at all on any of our properties. I just treat it as and when it's needed. And most of the time it is dollar spot that we're treating. So just because of that humidity, the lawn holds so much moisture overnight. Yeah. So it stays wet for so long. But yeah, like it's not terrible. So.
And oftentimes with dollar spot as well, it's often caused or helped a little bit by a lack of nutrition. And a lot of your work is from people who are, getting you to also do your fertilization.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So what are the most common issues, or what are the most common, like you've got somebody who's come up from Melbourne, obviously their cut frequency is one of those things where, and I think that's super underrated. Like just mowing frequency, people are looking for a magic product or a magic service that's going to, I'll aerate the lawn, it'll be green for 6 months, and then they mow it every, as infrequently as possible. Yeah. So mowing frequency is one of the things. What are the other things in your area? And I guess it'd be the same across, probably into Darwin and even northern WA.
Yeah.
What are the common in people in those areas? What common issues do you think are happening a lot where if they just tweaked a couple little things, how do they get a schmicko beautiful lawn?
Yeah. I think like you touched on the regular mowing. You can't go past, like if you get your water and mowing right, I think you're halfway there with a good lawn.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. They just don't mow enough.
Yep.
And the regular mowing will also suppress that weed growth. So we get a fair bit of weed pressure here as well, just because the rate of growth is so high with the humidity and the rain and all that sort of stuff. So for us, with a lot of our programs, some like our non-negotiables with the programs is a pre-emergent for weed germination to stop that.
Yep.
We go down with a Celeprone, which is a 6-month grub control, and then just a good quality slow release fertilizer every sort of 10 to 12 weeks. So we don't go too high on the nitrogen, but
that's what I was going to say. So that would be another thing that would be. I'm just going to come back onto these photos.
Yeah.
This one up here, if I'm clicking on it, I'm having some technical issues. It's not the computer, it's the guy using it for sure. So if we come to this post here, I'll pause the video. For those who are looking, I'm zooming in on that. That is a nice schmicko green grass. That's your front lawn, right?
It is, yes. Just ignore the middle. That is due to the amount of rain we have constantly being underwater.
Oh, right. So is that a little bit lower, that area?
Yeah, so long story short, we put 120 cubic meters of topsoil in this front lawn, laid turf. Turf was no good, so we cut it out.
Ooh.
When we cut it out, we probably didn't put enough soil back in, mainly due to the fact that I didn't want to spend too much more money.
What was wrong with the soil? let's hold on for that conversation for a second. What was wrong with your soil? I mean, what was wrong with the lawn? Sorry.
The turf. I won't go too much into detail about it. Basically, the turf, when it come from the farm, within 4 to 6 weeks of laying it, it had cooch smut in it.
Right.
Which is a fungal issue that you can't really treat.
Right. Did they help you out with that, or were they pretty difficult?
Nah, because it was green. It looked like, but for what we wanted, it was never going to cut it.
Right.
So.
And what is this? What is this type of lawn at the front here?
So this is Queensland blue cooch. Blue cooch. So it kind of grows native in our area. So if you go to a lot of the older suburbs and stuff like that in Bundaberg, a lot of the footpaths and council areas will have Queensland blue cooch growing natively.
And so this stripes up amazing. You're cutting that with a cylinder mower, which a lot of people who are listening to this may not have access to.
Yep.
And that's what gets that beautiful cut. But if we go back to, so we're talking before we talked about, your mishap there. What are you doing that's getting that sort of result? That, give us a rough idea of what a program is. Obviously, you don't have to go into full detail with everything, but a lot of people be looking at going, wow, because you mentioned pre-emergent, a few other things.
Yep.
Give us the basics of what you're looking at there.
Yeah, so to be honest, the front lawn hasn't had a lot. Queensland blue cooch naturally just has that really good colour about it and stripes really well. You can look at Queensland blue cooch the right way and it'll stripe for you. So it is it is an easy grass to stripe and make it look like that. But generally around the property here, we're sort of going down every 6 to 8 weeks with a slow release fertilizer. Right. Obviously, we have our pre-emergent and our Soloprin down every six months. So key times here is going to be March and September to get those products down. Soil wetter and a kelp humic product every 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
And liquid iron, that sort of thing, I kind of do when I apply my PGR, which here, when we're tracking at 200 growing degree days, we put it down about every 2 weeks in the middle of summer.
So we just hit an iceberg of technicality there.
Yeah.
So let's wind back a little bit. So we're talking PGR, growing degree days, liquid iron. We got into the kelp. So we touched on these things. If you've been into lawn, you've watched, the Aussie Lawn or Lawn Tips on YouTube, or you've been on the Lawn Fanatics pages or things like that, you know what we're talking about. But some of you listening, you're going, what the heck is he on about? So let's start with this. What is a pre-emergent herbicide? Because you've mentioned that a few. And this is one of your big ones, right? What does it do? Yes. What product are you using? Where are you getting it from? That sort of stuff.
Yep. So the main product we use is Barricade, which the active ingredient in Barricade is prodiamine. So basically a pre-emergent is going to stop the germination of your weed seeds. So it won't cover every weed under the sun, but what we find, it'll cover a lot of your hardy grassy weeds, your summer grass, your crow's foot, that sort of thing. And they're the ones that are going to be the hardest to spray out of the lawn, especially for us here with a lot of blue cooch. Doesn't tolerate herbicides that well. So in my opinion, a pre-emergent is extremely important. And I say to a lot of our clients, your first application of a pre-emergent, you're not going to see anything. Yep. For me, a pre-emergent is a long-term use thing. So seasons down the track, you'll see the benefit of the use of a pre-emergent. You're not going to see it on your first application because a lot of those seeds are probably already germinated, so it's too late.
Yeah, so a lot of people, one of the things about pre-emergence is it's before they emerge. And one of the things that people misunderstand is if you have a bow and arrow, a lot of people might use bin dye or bow and arrow or one of those products. They work on what you would call a broadleaf weed. And a broadleaf weed is a completely different type of plant from a grass. Yes. Whereas when you're talking about winter grass or summer grass or crow's foot grass or crabgrass, they're all grasses. Queensland blue cooch is grass. Cooch is grass. Buffalo is grass. And so it's much harder to control those weeds chemically because they're just so similar. So that's why there's a lot of options available to control broadleaf weeds like bindi or all your sorts of hose-on, less effective products, weed and feed, those sorts of things, bow and arrow. And so a lot of people, they can get on top of that because they seem widely available. The pre-emergence, I think that's where a lot of that 1%ers, or for some people, a lot of their lawn could be weeds, but it's one of those little things where you put it down and you don't realize the value of it. And like you say, as time comes on, all of a sudden, less and less and less and less weeds.
Yeah. I think one of the questions I see a lot on a lot of the social media pages, that sort of thing, is people go, oh, I'm going to lay a new lawn. Let's throw a pre-emergent down.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So especially with prodiamine, it'll have a root pruning effect. So basically it won't let the roots grow past that point.
Yep.
So don't use barricade on a new lawn.
Yeah, and so the way that barricade actually works for those, I mean, some of you might have been using it, you know that it works, but the way that it works is it's similar in its mode of action to like a chemotherapy, in a sense that it actually attacks rapidly dividing cells. So if you have a new little seed that's just emerged, as it's growing out, those rapidly dividing cells, that's what takes in the prodiamine, and that's what gets affected by it. Same with the tips of roots, right? They're growing quick, hits that barrier, doesn't work so well. But your established plants, obviously, their roots are much deeper. So, the layer of where the pre-emergent isn't so effective. But getting a little bit nerdy here, that's one of the reasons why it works so well against little weed seeds and doesn't do anything to your lawn. The lawn's already deeper, and it's really only working against rapidly dividing cells. So definitely not a new. We've also had problems before. We had a guy who used to work for us back in the day, and this client had a patch. They applied pre-emergent. They asked us to apply pre-emergent to their buffalo, and they had this patch which he applied the pre-emergent to as well. It wasn't very big, maybe 30 by 40 centimeters or something like that, and it just stopped the buffalo from growing through. So we actually had to come through, dig out a little bit of soil to get rid of where that herbicide was. Just put a little bit of new soil in and solve the problem. But when you got something thick, it's really, really effective.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Really good.
And so tell us about Celiprin then, because that's a similar type of product, right? But for bugs.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So I guess in the domestic lawn scene, one of the biggest issues I see is all the old diggers out there spraying heavy insecticides every couple of weeks, just so they don't get any lawn grubs. Armyworm is the biggest one. They're always spraying for it. And while I know, like, a Celiprin's not cheap, but how I look at it is it's cheap insurance for your lawn.
So how does the Celiprin work? For those who've never heard of it before, why are you advertising this product, or you're not advertising, but why are you promoting this product and not the other products that you would get typically from budding?
Yeah, so I guess with the Celiprin, it's targeted to a few key grubs, that sort of thing, African black beetle and that. So it's not going to kill ants, bees, spiders, won't kill all that sort of stuff. And there is no re-entry period for a Celiprin, so it's a super safe product to be using. You don't have to be locking the kids inside or worried about the dog or anything like that. But the benefit of it is it lasts 6 months.
Right.
So once you apply at full application rate, you're protected for 6 months. Whereas a lot of these other ones are knockdown insecticide. So you'll spray it might kill the current infestation, but 3 weeks later they can be back again.
So whereas where it's warmer, you're probably getting a lot more bug pressure year round, I'd be assuming.
Yes.
In Perth, we don't really get that much year round. You can ignore bugs for probably 6 months of the year. But you can do 2 applications and have everything done for the year, basically, is what you're saying.
Correct, yeah. So we go to here in Queensland, we go out in March and September.
Yep.
And we don't, I very rarely spray insecticide on our program lawns at all.
Because you've already sprayed the Celiprin.
Correct, yes.
So once you put that Celiprin down, you just don't need to worry about anything.
Yeah, you're protected. You don't have to worry about it. So everyone in your neighbourhood can get their lawn half killed from armyworm, and you're sweet.
Have you ever had like a neighbor's lawn, a neighbor of one of your clients really suffer and you rock up and yours is still pristine and you think, get wrecked?
Yeah, we've seen it around in the new estates and stuff like that where we're fine, and everyone else has got issues. So, yeah.
So other than the bugs, what other common mistakes are you, and we've got to talk about PGR and growing degree days in a second, but what other common mistakes are the homeowners, what are they making that, they're wasting their time, they're wasting the money, you have a little chuckle at when you see it?
Yeah. One of the biggest ones I see is everyone's still throwing down straight urea.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, you get a great green up, you got to mow it here, you got to mow every 2 days. So, and I mean, I suppose it's like an energy drink. You get a big spike of energy, you feel great for a couple of hours, and then you crash.
That's it.
And that's so the same thing for urea. So,
what's urea lacking? We're talking, let's talk to some people, because I know a lot of people watching this podcast are going to be lawn professionals, or they're going to be contractors, they're going to be hobbyists, and so there's going to be a wide range of people who they're laughing with us right now. Oh yes, they've dealt with the urea problem, and the fat it causes, and burning if you apply too much, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with it? Right? Tell the beginner what's wrong with the urea.
So basically, urea is going to push a lot of top growth of the plant, so your leaf, but it's not helping establish a root system. And that's what you want to do to get that overall plant health and have a healthy, strong plant.
Yeah.
Like throwing urea down, it'll look great for a week or two. Yeah. But long term, it's detrimental to the plant. So we want to get. Yeah, you're right. So we want to get something with some phosphorus and potassium in it to help with that overall plant health and root development. And
so when you say it's like an energy drink, you're saying it's caffeine and sugar.
Yep.
And not much else.
Correct. Yep.
And so now let's talk about PGR. We're getting into some weeds. Well, not literal weeds. We already talked about it with pre-immersion, but we're getting deep into this when we start talking about PGR. When I talked with Ben Sims, he said that was his most underrated product. And I took for granted that people would know what it was. And we shouldn't have done that, because obviously a lot of people watching his channel, they would have seen him describe it before. PGR stands for Plant Growth Regulator, right? What are you using that for? What's the benefit for that?
For me, it basically is going to reduce the growth rate of the plant, slow the growth rate of the plant down. But I guess for where we use it on the putting green at home, we do use it on customers' lawns as well. And majority of the time on a customer's lawn, it's to slow that growth rate down. But at home here on the putting green, basically you're going to get, it's going to shorten the node length of the plant, and you'll get more leaf blade per square centimeter. So you get a tighter, denser plant, which at those low mowing heights is going to look a lot better. So
just a lot greener.
Yes. Yeah. So for us, that's sort of the main reason we're using it at home here. And I think, if you're still in the mowing and you haven't looked at PGR, I mean, it's getting a bit late now to start looking at it. But definitely next season, I think PGR will help take your lawn to another level.
So those 4 tips there, I think you've gone pre-emergent, acelepryn, which is a super safe preventive insecticide.
Yep.
Using a granule fertilizer that has phosphorus and potassium, not just nitrogen like urea.
Yes. Yep.
A bit of PGR.
Yep.
Those 4 little things, that if someone's got a pretty good lawn, that's going to take us to the next level, right? Just that.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. And I think if you can get some sort of program together on your lawn that you stick to, so you're feeding at the same sort of intervals all the time, that sort of thing, you're keeping your mowing regular, you're keeping your watering regular, your quality of lawn's going to be so much better. I think when it's sporadic and you're jumping all over the place, next minute you're throwing heaps of product at it, then you don't do anything for a couple of months, then you're back on it, your lawn will fluctuate.
Yeah.
I think consistency in your product applications and your mowing and your watering is one of the keys to have a great lawn.
Yeah. And that's one of the things as well, like for people who are hobbyists, I think that's where the satisfaction comes in as well, because those small little, it's not like when you're on the weekend, it's not like every 4 weekends you smash out and you kill it and you're exhausted. You've spent your whole weekend trying to work on your lawn. it looks good for a couple of weeks. And then, it's actually those small little incremental things. And I think that's why people get almost addicted to their lawn care, because it's actually not as much work as what people think. It's just consistency more than intensity.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And we get the same thing with mowing when we go, customers ask, oh, it's hard to mow. I fill my wheelie bin with grass clippings all the time and stuff like that. Yeah. And I said, well, how often are you mowing? And they said, every 2 weeks. And I said, well, that's why it's hard, because you're taking so much off all the time. Yep. If you mow it twice a week, average lawn might take you half an hour to mow, 40 minutes.
Yeah,
it's an easy job.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah. So it's actually an easy job when you do it regularly. And the same thing with the products and the maintenance. When you keep on top of it, it's not that hard to maintain.
Yeah, completely different. We're going to go to a little break. We're going to come back and we're going to start talking about Travis's business and what his life's been like in that area. Today's episode is sponsored by Catch Pro Australia. This is a great Australian business. We've used them for many years. You can see here the 2 products I want to talk about. The first is this catcher right here. This is the Catch Pro. This is the thing that started off this business. It's a great little catcher that you put on the side of a mower there. You can take it on and off, which means that your mower doesn't have any more problems fitting through gates, unlike some manufactured blower-assisted catchers that are way more expensive. They can be $4,000 plus. This one, obviously the capacity is reduced, but for a lot of people who are out there just looking for something to help pick up some leaves, they've got a couple of clients that they want to have a little bit of a better finish on than just mulch mowing, and this is a great option. The second thing I want to show is this Pro Shield. This is a game changer for anybody who mows around a lot of windows or things like that. There is actually a motor there and it powers off your battery, and so this flap here will open and shut at your command. And if you're mowing the windows, you can shut it. If you want to turn and open it up to let more grass out, then you can do that on the other side. It's a really handy bit of a kit. We use both of these in our business. If you're wanting something like that, then simply head to catch-pro.com.au. Great guys. Ben's a great guy, supporter of the channel. So head there and they'll help you out. And we're back. We're going to talk about the Lawn Lab. So this has been going since 2020, but you weren't actually in lawn care at all. You were just like a hobbyist, right?
Yeah. So I guess from when I bought my own house, I'm 34 at the moment. I bought my first house with my brother when I was 21 at the time, and I borrowed my father's Scott Bonnet supercar.
Right.
Supercar. And we started cylinder mowing the front lawn. And, when I first started maintaining the lawn as a hobbyist, would go to Bunnings, would get some Scott's Lawn Builder, throw it out when it needed to fertilise. And for me, just see, that was a Queensland Blue Cooch lawn at the time as well, so it striped really, really well. Yep. And seeing those stripes, I progressively wanted to learn more. So every night I'd be on YouTube, the internet, reading, trying to get as much information as I can. And it's what started a hobby. It became a real passion for me. Like I said, I don't have a background in lawn care until I started the business. I'm actually a house painter by trade. And once I sort of did my apprenticeship, and a couple of years after that, I went to work in our family business, which was selling building material. So, sort of far cry from lawns, I guess.
Well, in some way it is, but in some way it's not, because with painting, you still need that real attention to detail. It's about being neat. And you'll notice, like, a lot of lawn mowing, more than just about anybody, how a lawn mowing video can go viral on the internet. But so do painting videos, right?
Yes.
It's really common for people to be painting. And I think there's something satisfying about, because when you mow a lawn, you're taking an unruly, ugly thing and you're making it really neat. And that's one of the things a lot of people love about working in this industry, is that visual job satisfaction you get every single time you do a job. It's the same thing with painting, really, isn't it? And building, carpentry, bricklayers, things like that. You can visually see exactly what you've done.
Yeah. I think if you take pride in your work, you're gonna want to have that attention to detail. So when you're finished the job, you can turn around, look at it, and be proud of what you've done. And it's the same when you mow a lawn, you know, like if you've missed the edge and you look back, you're going to go fix it. Like I remember when I first started, I was just literally mowing some weeds and stuff like that. Pretty average lawns every sort of 3 weeks. And I would do the job and I'd be walking out. To the point where if I'd seen a blade of grass or a single runner over the edge of the concrete, stop, pluck it off so it's nice and neat. And I think that's just that attention to detail that kind of sets some people apart.
Yeah. I was doing a job yesterday, and there's a mulberry tree, so like a weeping mulberry tree.
Yeah.
I was whipping up against the mulberry tree, well, slightly underneath where the branches were. Because I was right there, I couldn't see that I needed to go about 10 centimeters further.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've gone around, done everything, looked fine, chucked everything on the ute, locked everything up, turned around, and there's honestly like 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters of like one patch. And I'm like, they got to go take the thing. Because in you, it's like, that's not the standard. It's 5 seconds. I'm going to go do it. Yeah. And it's funny. It's like there's people like that. I mean, we've had plenty of people work for us over the years. You either have it or you don't have it.
Yes. You can't teach it.
No, you can't. But I think, some people mature into it because I was like that. When I was younger, those things didn't bother me so much. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, no, I do care. But it's funny that I think the people who don't enjoy working in these types of industries, like the painting and all this sort of stuff, are also the people who don't do the last 0.25% of work. Because, they're the ones that cut the corner and they go home feeling they don't have the feeling of pride and satisfaction, and like it's the same thing with a lot of other industries. But I actually think that's where work gets really fun, is when you try and do really beautiful work. And even if you don't necessarily succeed because maybe the client doesn't have the budget you need, or maybe the weather's against you, you still have that satisfaction. I did the best I could with the time I had and the talents I was given.
Yes.
And that's what I love about the industry that we work in.
Yeah, definitely agree.
So having the business, you've been 3 years in. At the moment, you're doing a lot of the management side, not on the tools as much. Looks like you're doing a bit on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, so I've been wanting to start YouTube for about a year now.
Yep.
And I guess I sort of injured my back last spring leading into Christmas, that sort of thing. And I had a few bad days there where I couldn't really walk and stuff like that. And, with a young family and young kids, I kind of made the decision that if I wanted the business to continue to grow and succeed, I had to get off the tools. Otherwise, I'd be getting a back operation.
What was the back injury?
So basically it wasn't one thing that happened. I think it was just a overload of a period of time.
Right.
Basically, it got to Reno season, which is spring last year, and I lost my main labour that I used for a lot of renovation work that I do. And he'd been with me from even back in the day as a labourer at my parents' business as well. So he kind of knew what I expected. He was a really hard worker. Yeah. Anyway, he went and got a full-time job. And the new labourer I got, I basically had to do a bit extra. So I was killing myself, and I think it was just a culmination of everything. And basically, I did a Bowles disc, and I ruptured one of my discs in my back. Right. And I mean, like right before the end of the year, we got the job for a renovation on 4 croquet lawns, which was about 3,200 square meters. And I remember the day we done it was about 2 weeks before Christmas, and at that time I was still in a lot of pain, but I still had to get up and go to work. Sure. And I was walking behind the MoMaster Verdi mower, Verdi in these lawns and stuff like that. We got 2 in, and I just said to Lara, I said, I can't, I've got to go home. I can't. I was struggling to walk behind the machine. And I think that was when I realised, I can't keep going like this.
Yeah. If
I do, one, I'll be in hospital getting a back operation, but long term, I may not be able to run around with my kids either.
Yeah, of course.
So we had a chat to my partner, and we made the decision that I was going to step off the tools this year. And to be honest, I think it's probably one of the best things I've done for the business. All our jobs feel a lot more organised. They've always had the gear on site ready to go when they need. We're not sort of chasing our tail as much.
Yep.
I guess that gave me the freedom then to sort of start looking at YouTube as well. A bit more free time to film the video, film the content and that sort of thing. So, so far I've got a couple of videos up and I'm really enjoying it.
Hey everyone, this is just a quick little interjection in the podcast to say thank you for checking in. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. If you made it this far into the podcast, I really hope you are enjoying it and someone's not holding you against your will. But I just want to say, if you are enjoying it, I would really appreciate all the support you can get. Share it with your friends that you think will actually like it. Share it with your mum. Force her to watch it and say, Mum, if you don't watch it, then you don't love me. Actually, no, don't do that. Just share it with people who are actually in the industry. That's probably a better idea. We'll get back into the podcast, but I just want to say thank you so much. Any little share, like, subscribe, all that YouTube-y, podcasty stuff, you know what to do. But just thank you, and we'll get back into the podcast now. Tell me about, you got Instagram, and Instagram is this place that people show their best. And one of the things that I want to do with this podcast is I want to tell stories of mistakes, because I think that under most professionals, there's some good stories of just funny little things, stuff ups you've done before, things like that. I told the story last week of how I once accidentally set a retirement village on fire, and you wouldn't have heard this because the podcast hasn't come out by the time I've Travis, but I'll reiterate the story. I cut through a gas pipe once. It was next to a heater. It set the bush on fire. I wasn't aware. I actually had gone to tell the facility manager. We come around the corner and this bush is on fire. Anyways, a quarter of the facility got evacuated. Wow. And that was a bad day. And we don't like talking about those bad days. I've got a few other stories up in my 10 plus years, or close to 15 years, I guess now, of gardening. Is there anything that comes to mind? What's an embarrassing or expensive mistake that you've made? Because we've all made them. And I think we can just have a good laugh at each other, right?
I think two things have come to mind. Now, I mean, they didn't end up costing me, so we got lucky on kind of both of them. The first one, we were installing some irrigation at a childcare centre. It was after hours, and I wasn't on site. I left my full-time guy there to do the trenching. When I got back, I was like, what's this yellow line here? It's all oily over the top, and I can see the trencher just touched, hasn't broken through, but just touched it. Yeah. And turns out it was the gas line going to the childcare. Now, I'd never come across a gas line ever before. Yeah. I didn't even know there was one there. But it was really shallow. Like, I'm talking 150 mil below the ground. Yep. And you could see where the chain had touched the outside, but had not gone through. And that was one of the moments where I was so thankful that we didn't hit that, because it was basically in the center of town as well. So there's a lot of pubs and clubs and a big school and a church across the road. So there was a lot around that area. The second thing that we had happened to us recently, a client was away on holidays. We maintained their property while they're traveling. And we it was an Empire Zoysia lawn, and we decided to do a high to cut reset on it. So we just verti mowed it, scalped it down. Basically, it was all brown again, like Zoysia is. Not much green leaf. Gave the feed. Didn't have irrigation, but we set up tap timers and stuff like that. The tap timers for the owner so we could water it. Come back 2 weeks later, it was still brown. And it was about a month before the owner got back. And I started panicking. So I took the job off one of my guys so I could be on site all the time. And what had happened is someone had turned the taps off. Front taps. What? So we had a program to set, but they had someone to turn the taps off. Yeah. So then for the next 4 weeks, I had to go my hardest to get this lawn back. So you think, like, in our heat here, it was still in summer, the end of summer. It was 2 weeks sitting there with no water after we verti mowed and scalped this lawn.
We've got this mystery. You've just reminded me. I'll try and see if I can find I can't do two things at once very well, but I'm a useless man in that way. But we've got. How can I search on Instagram on my computer? Oh, here it is. Search. I'm just doing this in the background. But we do this private school.
Yeah.
And we've had the same problem that someone is turning off our sprinklers. Yeah. And we can't work out. I'll try to put this on the screen for you to have a look. Let me scroll down through. Where's the school? It's going to load up in a second. Here's the school oval. So if you guys are... it stripes off pretty well. So it's this school oval here for those who are looking.
And you just made that with the walker?
Anyways, we made that with the walker. You can see all the leaves. Yes. It's a messy, there we go. So you can see it's all striped up. I've paused the video.
Yeah.
Some of you listening on Spotify or something. So it's a primary school. As far as primary school ovals go, it's pretty good, right?
Yes.
Now, there's a retic controller next to the shed in that back corner there, if you can see where my mouse is.
Yep.
Locked in an electrical box. And 3 times this year, that has been turned off. And the thing is, it's cost us. So we actually verti mowed this oval. We actually got Andrew from Spray Mow Services to help us out with that.
Yeah.
And so in the Christmas school holidays, we verti mowed this oval, top dressed just the low bits. So the school has spent a lot of money, right, on a big 7, maybe 8,000 square meter flat area there. And one of our guys is going to check in, and it's just not growing back that well, right? And we'd set the watering, right?
Yeah.
And there's different watering rules for this oval than the rest, so it was getting a lot of water.
Yeah.
You go and check in, the sprinklers, the system's off. And he thought, that's weird. So he's turned it back on. Comes back a week later, right? And it's not dead, right? I mean, it's still green. It's just struggling.
Yeah.
Someone's turned it off again. And so we go, look, no one's turning it off because someone's got to have a key to get in, like a school key to get in.
Yeah.
So we go, it must be the controller. So we go get a completely brand new, completely different brand controller, right? And, go fix the problem. New controller in, all good. 3 months later, it's off again, right? But this time, it's we've changed to a Hunter sprinkler where it's a dial. It's a physical dial.
Yeah.
Whereas the one before, you had to press buttons. So someone has been unlocking, like getting into the school, someone with the school key, so an employee of the school, is unlocking the box and turning the sprinklers off that only run in the middle of the night. So I don't know what's...
Someone's wanting to save water.
I don't know what it is, but it's like it's on a bore. I mean, it's a school. We don't have the same sort of watering rules as... I don't know, man. Like and I just don't know why. Like the school itself, everyone is so supportive of what we do. They like the financial decision makers, the principal. They all really care about it looking really good. They want a great place for the kids to play.
Yeah,
it must be a teacher. I don't know. A cleaner. I have no idea. And why? Anyways, I just can't work that out. Yeah. I forgot about that until you mentioned that one. People are weird.
Yeah.
Well, give me some stories of weird clients. You've surely had a few of them, right?
Honestly, like we get a fair few like oldies, and they're all pretty good. To be honest, they all have their quirks, and they took your ear off.
Maybe it's the Bundaberg rum, you reckon?
Probably.
They're all a good mood.
Too many.
They're a little tipsy, 24/7.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we have the odd bad one here and there. But overall, I can say we've been pretty lucky with our clients, even from people that I think we've had maybe 2 non-payers for just small jobs. But everyone's been really good. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we've only been going 3 years, nearly 3 years now. So we've still got a lot to learn. So, but yeah, they've been pretty good.
Yeah, look, man, I think people underestimate, because a lot of people will say online, I can't find a good contractor. It's like, well, some of us can't find good clients either, you know?
Yes.
As-
Yeah.
I wonder if it is a country town thing. I mean, we get a lot of good clients now, but over the years, you know, you get people crazy expectations with no budget and all sorts of stuff. You know, we even had the other day, actually, it was just a few weeks ago now, but we top dressed a lawn, quite a small one by your standards, 100 square meters or something like that. Guy accepted the quote, and we did the job, and he was happy with the job, but he was unhappy with how quickly the job was done. And what do you want? Do you want? And I was talking to him over for email. I said, would you have preferred if we sent less qualified people? Is that what you're saying? You know,
the thing is too, like you buy the right equipment for the job.
Yep.
You hire the right staff. You train the right staff. You pay them right. All that costs money.
Oh,
it's not 100%. About how long you're on site for.
No.
It's about the investment you put in to do the job correctly. You know, like when I first started, we used to top dress all our lawns by hand. And like I said, the average lawn size here is 400 square meters. So, you know, that's 4 to 5 cubic meters of sand by hand. I didn't change my pricing when I got the Eco 250. We can top dress that same lawn in quarter of the time now. But, you know, that costs money to have the right machinery. So,
well, that's one of the things. I'll try and get that up while you're talking about it, because I was going to ask you as well with your I'll get a video of the lawn lab using their Eco 250. Here you go. There it is on the screen there. So it's an expensive bit of kit, but lightly throws sand over lawns. I was going to ask you, let's say hypothetical here. Someone was going to come in the middle of the night, maybe you're on holiday, and they're going to steal everything you own, but you can protect one tool, right? What's the one tool you're keeping?
Oh, that's
put you on the spot. It's a good question. Then can't answer it quickly.
That's a hard one, eh? Okay, let's hypothetically, I have no tools bar one, so realistically, I probably can't do my job anymore.
That's true.
I still need to mow my own lawn. So I'd probably keep the Toro Greens Master.
Right, you'd mow the whole. You wouldn't keep the triplex?
Yeah, triplex. Yeah, sorry.
Oh yes. Yeah, that one. Yeah, okay.
Yes, yep. The three-headed.
I thought you meant like the walk behind greens mower.
No, the walk behind one we have is a Baroness.
Okay.
Yes. So that's probably what I would keep. That way I can still mow my lawn.
Yeah, still keep the Instagram fans happy.
Correct. Yes.
All your clients. I don't know how you're earning money, but all your clients and stuff.
So we got a big area. So
Well, I asked Ben and said, would you prefer to never use PGR again, but be able to use a ride-on mower, or would you prefer to be able to use PGR but you have to mow your whole property with a Scott Bonner? He was like, ride on any day of the week.
Yeah. So I contemplated for a while getting a 30-inch mow master or something like that to mow. We already had the triplex at the time. And I'm so glad I got the triplex sharp and new bed knives, because it makes a massive difference, like time-wise. So
especially with back issues.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and that's why I was like trying to move a 30-inch mow master around. Probably won't be good for my back. So
no, is that the little dog I can hear in the background?
It's my youngest daughter.
The youngest daughter.
Yes,
this is the real world podcast, people.
She's being a little bit naughty to mum, I think. So.
Oh, she's sending them out to you. She can tell us about PGR now, can't she?
My eldest daughter probably be pretty close to being able to do that, I think. So.
Yeah, if you're ever sick, we'll just ask her to fill in.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you before we finish up on here. You've got Tahoma 31, and I've got no experience with Tahoma 31. There's been a lot of hype about that, and so I'll give a bit of context. But basically, it's a couch lawn, and a lot of people have experience with couch. It's up there with the most common lawns in Australia. But they've been advertising it as being just different, right? They're just basically saying there's something about it. Now you've got a green, so a home putting green. You've got it down. You're saying before it's not quite there right now, but you have had it down to 3 millimeters, which is insanely low.
Yeah.
Right. Is it overhyped? Is the Tahoma 31 craze overhyped, or is it actually spot on?
I do think it's a really good grass. In my honest opinion, it is really good grass. In saying that, I think it doesn't matter what lawn you have. You can buy the dearest lawn or the cheapest lawn. It's about how much input you put into that lawn and time. You can buy a $21 a square metre lawn and do no work with it, and it'll be rubbish. Or you can buy a $3 lawn and put the work in, put the time in, get the right products on it, look after it, maintain it, and it can be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But back to the Tahoma, it is really good grass. I enjoy looking after it. I enjoy maintaining it. Very good grass.
What makes it different compared to what other common varieties are up there in Bundaberg? We get wintergreen here a lot. We've got Tiff Tuff here a lot. Santa Ana. What are you getting up there?
Yeah, so the main green cooch you can get locally is wintergreen.
Yep.
And it's really bad for cooch mites, the wintergreen here. It has no tolerance to cooch mites at all. And I just find the Tahoma doesn't scalp as bad as what a typical green cooch would.
Yeah.
And so I've got Tiff Tuff here as well on the property.
Yeah.
The colour is more like a blue cooch, in my opinion. It's a deeper, darker green.
Which one's deeper and darker?
The Tahoma.
Tahoma is, yep.
Yes, yeah. It's the colour is like when you look at it from a distance, like when I walk down to the back of my property and you can see the green and it's fed up and it's looking great. The colour, it doesn't look real.
Yeah,
the colour from the Tahoma is unbelievable. Like,
are you giving the same fertilizer inputs and the same program to both of them, or very, very similar at least?
Yeah.
And so
correct.
the colour is purely the type of grass it is.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Well, I think with Tiff Tuff, like with my experience with Tiff Tuff, I think its selling point has been its wear and drought tolerance, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in an area, I guess with your rain, I guess it's probably not as important, really, wouldn't you say, to have a drought tolerance? If you've got
it's not bad at all. Like I said, we get so much rain here that having like a drought tolerant lawn is not the biggest thing.
No.
Because we get so much rain, so it's not an issue. Like I said, it rains. We get a heavy shower every sort of 2 to 3 weeks through summer.
Yeah.
So testing the drought tolerance of like Tiff Tuff and that sort of thing, it is hard here because it rains so much. So even though we irrigate as well, you can't sort of push things out because you're always getting those heavy showers. So in saying that, I think we are supposed to be coming up to a bit of a dry period. So we'll see how things go. So
and that'll be interesting side by side there.
Yes.
We've crossed the 1 hour mark. I think your kids need feeding. Maybe some love and attention.
Yes,
where can we find you, Travis?
Yep. So we're obviously on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you just search the Lawn Lab, you'll find us. So we also have a website as well. So.
And that's where people would go if they want to hook up with some services. All the billionaires watching who want to fly you out to Japan or something.
Yeah. We also sell products on the website as well, so that we ship Australia-wide. So
and what sort of stuff? Are you selling a lot of stuff you were recommending before?
Yeah, so we do a lot of Lawn Pride, so we're affiliated with Lawn Pride Australia. So we sell all their products as well. So
awesome. Well, thanks heaps for your time. Enjoy your family time tonight. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and we'll see you next time, mate.
Appreciate it, Luke.